The air in Caracas crackled with a tension thicker than the humid tropical air. Something was deeply wrong. Beneath the vibrant facades of the city, a cancer was eating away at the soul of Venezuela. A small group of hackers, known only by their online aliases, felt the tremors of this sickness in the digital veins of the nation. They called themselves Los Zurdos de Mierda, a name born of defiance and dark humor. They were the left-handed sons of bitches, the unwanted, the overlooked. But they could see the truth hidden in the ones and zeros, in the encrypted messages and the manipulated data streams. The leader, a shadowy figure known as Orinoco, possessed a quiet intensity that drew others to his cause. His skills were legendary, his motives shrouded in mystery. He had assembled a team of digital warriors, each with their own unique talents and motivations. There was the young prodigy, barely out of his teens, whose fingers danced across the keyboard with breathtaking speed. A hardened woman, her face etched with the scars of past battles, brought her experience in navigating the dark underbelly of the internet. And then, there was the engineer, a foreigner drawn to Venezuela by its beauty and its plight, his analytical mind a valuable asset to the group. Their initial target was the National Electoral Council, CNE, the institution tasked with overseeing Venezuela's elections. Rumors of fraud had plagued the country for years, but concrete evidence remained elusive. Orinoco believed that the CNE's servers held the key to unlocking the truth. The risks were enormous. The government, under the iron grip of Nicolas Maduro, had eyes and ears everywhere. Discovery meant certain imprisonment, or worse. But fear was a luxury they could not afford. The fate of Venezuela, they believed, hung in the balance. Driven by a shared sense of purpose, they embarked on their perilous journey into the heart of the digital beast. They knew the enemy they faced was formidable, but they were determined to expose the truth no matter the cost. The whispers in the digital shadows were growing louder, and soon the world would hear their cries. The fight for Venezuela's soul had begun.
The CNE servers were heavily fortified, guarded by firewalls and intrusion detection systems that would make even the most seasoned hacker sweat. But Orinoco and his team were not easily deterred. They had spent weeks studying the system, identifying weaknesses, and crafting their attack plan with meticulous care.
Their first breakthrough came in the dead of night, when internet traffic was at its lowest. The young prodigy, fueled by caffeine and adrenaline, managed to slip past the outer layers of security, his fingers flying across the keyboard with almost supernatural speed. Inside, they found a labyrinth of databases and encrypted files. The sheer volume of information was overwhelming, but Orinoco had anticipated this. He directed his team, each member assigned to a specific area of investigation.
The engineer, with his methodical approach, began analyzing the database architecture, looking for anomalies that might betray the system's true purpose.
The woman, her eyes narrowed in concentration, focused on decrypting the most sensitive files, her years of experience proving invaluable.
As they delved deeper, a chilling picture began to emerge. The CNE systems were not merely being used to tabulate votes, they were being manipulated on a massive scale. Algorithms were in place to shift vote totals, erase records, and even create phantom voters. It was a sophisticated operation, designed to ensure that the ruling party remained in power, regardless of the will of the people. The evidence was irrefutable, damning, but it was just the tip of the iceberg. Orinoco knew that they had stumbled upon something far larger and more sinister than they could have imagined. The CNE was just a cog in a much larger machine, a machine fueled by corruption, greed, and a lust for power that knew no bounds. They had to keep digging, even if it meant risking everything. The truth, however ugly, had to be revealed. The manipulation within the CNE systems was staggering. Orinoco and his team uncovered evidence of over 20 elections being rigged, dating back to the early days of Hugo Chávez's presidency. It became horrifyingly clear that the veneer of democracy in Venezuela was nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion, a stage-managed performance designed to appease international observers while the true levers of power remained firmly in the shadows. The hackers found records of software programs with innocuous-sounding names like Project Bolivar and Operation Condor, which were in reality sophisticated vote-rigging tools. These programs could manipulate vote tallies in real time, adjust turnout figures, and even generate fake voter registrations. The level of sophistication was breathtaking. a testament to the vast resources and technical expertise that had been poured into subverting the democratic process. But the electoral fraud was merely the tip of the iceberg. As they dug deeper, Orinoco and his team uncovered connections between the CNE and other government ministries, intelligence agencies, and even foreign entities. The tendrils of corruption seemed to reach into every corner of Venezuelan society, ensnaring politicians, military officials, and even ordinary citizens in a web of deceit and complicity. The weight of their discovery was immense. They held in their hands the power to expose a criminal conspiracy that had robbed millions of their voices and their futures. But they also knew that the truth, once revealed, would have explosive consequences. The question was, would anyone believe them? And even if they did, would it be enough to bring down the corrupt edifice that had been built?
The weight of their responsibility was crushing, but they knew they couldn't turn back. They had to get the information out, no matter the cost. The world had to know what was happening in Venezuela before it was too late. The hackers knew they had stumbled upon something that could destabilize the entire region, perhaps even the world. They were now sitting on a ticking time bomb, and they had no idea how to defuse it. Venezuela had become a key player in the global black market for nuclear materials, a dangerous game with potentially catastrophic consequences. The implications of this discovery were staggering. Not only was the Venezuelan government involved in electoral fraud and human rights abuses, but it was now complicit in the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. The uranium, it seemed, was destined for Iran, a country actively pursuing its own nuclear ambitions. The hackers uncovered shipping manifests, bank transfer records, and even intercepted satellite communications that confirmed their worst fears. The answer, they soon discovered, lay in the darkest corners of international terrorism. The Venezuelan government, desperate for cash and eager to thumb its nose at the West, had forged alliances with rogue states and terrorist organizations. The implications were terrifying. Venezuela, despite its vast natural resources, was not known to have an active nuclear program. So why the secrecy? Why the need to move uranium under the cover of darkness? Encrypted files, hidden deep within government servers, pointed to a clandestine operation involving the movement of uranium from Venezuelan mines to secret destinations. As the hackers delved further into the digital underbelly of the Venezuelan regime, they stumbled upon a chilling discovery evidence of uranium trafficking.
As if the uranium trade wasn't horrifying enough, Los Zurdos de Mierda uncovered another disturbing scheme, a vast human trafficking operation.
Hidden within the encrypted files of a seemingly innocuous agricultural ministry, they found references to special shipments and livestock transfers. But further investigation revealed a chilling truth. The Venezuelan government was trafficking in human beings.
The victims were often political dissidents, journalists, or anyone deemed a threat to the regime. They were kidnapped, often in broad daylight, and spirited away to remote locations. From there, they were either sold to the highest bidder or used as bargaining chips in negotiations with foreign governments.
The hackers were horrified by what they uncovered. Detailed records, including photographs and personal information of the victims, painted a grim picture of a government that had lost all sense of humanity.
This discovery added a new layer of complexity to the already tangled web of corruption they were unraveling. The hostage trade was not just morally reprehensible, it was also incredibly lucrative. The money it generated helped to line the pockets of corrupt officials and fund the regime's illicit activities.
It was a vicious cycle, one that thrived on fear and desperation. Los Zurdos de Mierda knew they had to expose this operation to the world, but they also knew that doing so would put the lives of the hostages at risk.
They needed a plan, a way to bring down the network without endangering the innocent lives caught in its clutches. The stakes had never been higher.
The scope of the conspiracy was breathtaking. It extended far beyond Venezuela's borders, ensnaring a shadowy network of international players.
Los Zurdos de Mierda, through their digital sleuthing, uncovered evidence that the Venezuelan government was receiving support from a Council of Nations with vested interests in destabilizing the region.
The list included familiar foes like Russia, China, and Iran, but it also hinted at the involvement of several Latin American countries, their identities shrouded in layers of encryption and code names.
But it wasn't all bad news. The hackers also found evidence that the US and Israel, longtime critics of the Venezuelan regime, were actively working to counter its nefarious activities. Encrypted communications between intelligence agencies pointed to covert operations aimed at disrupting the uranium trade and gathering evidence of human rights abuses.
It seemed that Los Zurdos de Mierda were not alone in their fight. Powerful forces were at play, engaged in a high-stakes game of geopolitical chess with Venezuela as the unfortunate pawn.
The knowledge that their own government was involved, albeit on the side of good, gave the hackers a sliver of hope. Perhaps, with the right information, they could expose the truth and bring the full weight of international pressure to bear on the Venezuelan regime.
But they also knew that they were treading on dangerous ground. Getting involved in international espionage, even unwittingly, could have deadly consequences. They had to tread carefully, balancing their desire for justice with the need to protect themselves and their families.
The game had just become a whole lot more dangerous.